What if the solution to the global education crisis wasn't just another app? What if it was something much, much bigger? Today, we're going to dive into a really bold idea from EduFuture Labs, building the actual foundational AI infrastructure for early learning for the entire globe. So let's break down what that really means. Okay, so here's how we're going to walk through this. First, we'll look at the massive crisis that's creating this opportunity. Then, we'll talk about why today's AI just doesn't work for kids. After that, we'll get into the big vision for learning infrastructure, the unique four-pillar model that makes it all work, and finally, the investment itself and the huge impact we can have together. All right, first up, a crisis meets a revolution. This is where a huge global challenge is slamming right into a once-in-a-generation opportunity. Right now, we're seeing two massive forces on a collision course. On one side, you have this staggering global education crisis. And on the other, a full-blown technological revolution in AI, with the AI edtech market just exploding, growing at 40% every single year. It's right in the middle of that collision where we find our open. To really wrap your head around the scale of this crisis, just look at this number, 69 million. UNESCO projects that by 2030, the world will need 69 million more preschool teachers. I mean, this isn't just a gap. It's an absolute chasm in our human capital. And the consequence of that chasm? Well, it's this. The World Bank estimates that 300 million children will grow up without the most basic skills, literacy and numeracy. That's a huge part of an entire generation at risk of being left behind before they even get started. So this brings us to a really critical question. If AI is so powerful, why can't we just, throw AI at this problem? Well, the truth is, today's AI is a dangerous mismatch for our youngest learners. It all boils down to one fundamental problem. Today's AI was simply not built for children. It's designed for adults, it uses adult logic, and it assumes adult safety needs, period. And that mismatch creates four huge failures. First, there's developmental misalignment. These models just don't get how a 4-year-old's brain works. Second, a serious lack of safety, with basically no guardrails built for them. Third, they're pedagogically shallow, which is a fancy way of saying they aren't based on how kids actually learn. And finally, they are a data privacy nightmare, not even close to compliant with laws that protect kids' data. So, if that's the problem, what's the solution? Well, our vision isn't just to make another product. It's to create learning infrastructure, the trusted, intelligent foundation that the entire early learning world can build on. I think this is the best way to think about it. You know how Bloomberg is the central nervous system for finance? Or how Epic systems are for healthcare? Our early learning LLM is going to be that for early education. It's not just another tool, it's the essential underlying operating system for learning. So how do we actually do that? Well, our early learning LLM is engineered totally differently from the ground up. At its very core, you have the safety and guardrails layer. Built right on top of that is the pedagogical layer, which is grounded in real learning science. Then comes a cultural context layer, which is so important for making this work everywhere. And finally, a cognitive development layer that actually understands how a young child's mind works. And this is not just another chatbot. This is a guided learning engine with 3 core jobs. For teachers, it's a co-pilot that can save them 30 to 50% of their admin time. For parents, it's a companion that makes that homeschool connection way stronger. And for kids, there's a special child mode that's always mediated by an adult, making sure every interaction is safe, guided, and educationally solid. But look, great technology is only half the story, right? That brings us to our defensible 4-pillar model. This is our unique strategy for creating a competitive advantage that lasts. This model stands on 4 pillars that all support each other. It all starts with our own proprietary early learning LLM. That's the tech foundation. That tech then powers a venture studio, which builds specific products. Then, to get those products out there, we tap into an established distribution network, which is huge. And the whole thing gets supercharged by philanthropic capital to fund the heavy R&D and our social impact work. Now, what's so powerful about this is that it creates a virtuous cycle. The distribution network gives us proprietary data. That data helps us build validated standards for what good AI in education even is, which in turn makes the core model smarter and strengthens our distribution. It just keeps getting better and more defensible over time. Our data strategy is really a key differentiator here. We build our data moat in 3 layers. The foundation is what we call a pedagogical knowledge corpus, our source of truth.
The second, and honestly the most valuable layer, is teacher interaction traces. This is where we capture how expert teachers actually use and improve the AI's suggestions. Then finally, we add regional data for cultural and language nuances. This is our secret sauce. On the tech side of things, we're using a really smart hybrid architecture. We use something called Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG, to pull from our trusted knowledge base. This controls the what, making sure everything's accurate. Then, we use fine-tuning to teach the model the how, the tone, the style, the art of pedagogy. It's super efficient and incredibly effective. And we are absolutely not doing this alone. We're co-developing this with an unbelievable list of world-class leaders. We're talking academia like Harvard and NTU, global NGOs like UNICEF, major foundations, and we have alignment with government bodies. This deep partnership de-risks the entire thing and lets us move so much faster. Which brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, the ask and impact. Let's talk about the investment opportunity and the future that we can all build together. So here it is. We are raising 500,000 Singapore dollars through a safe note. The terms are very straightforward, a $5 million valuation cap and a 20% discount. This capital is going to be put to work strategically. The majority, 60%, goes directly into building the minimum viable product. That's both the core LLM and our first product. 25% is set aside for running our pilot program with 5 preschools. And the last 15% will support our very lean core team. So what's the return on this investment? Well, it's twofold. There's the financial return, of course, but just as importantly, it's about the social impact. Our goal is to scale excellence, not just technology. That means less teacher burnout, stronger connections between home and school, and the long-term impact is a direct shot at improving educational equity and hitting the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. So all of this brings us to one final, crucial question for you. Are you ready to build the future of learning? Because let's be really clear, this is not just another piece of edtech. This is early learning infrastructure for the AI era. We have a once-in-a-generation opportunity to solve a global crisis and build a foundational company while we're at it. We invite you to join us.